Okay, we are live, baby. Watching the counter, Nerd Squad. We have a 9-second delay, Nerd Squad. It is 10:35 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Saturday. It is Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. This is a consensual recording with Mystic Wind pursuant to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Because I'm not an employee of the FBI, but I've been authorized to state I am an informant since the last week of June 2024. That being said, there's some things we need to briefly go over. At 9:16 a.m. this morning, you can click on the preceding live stream. I stated that an individual was outside of my door and attempting to look into my living room, something they're unable to do because not only do I have multiple curtains up there, but the FBI instructed me to put a large red sheet over all of my front windows to completely obstruct the view due to the North Everett Precinct's exterior stalking and the premeditated plans to do exactly what they've been doing for 3 days straight now without abatement. So that individual that was out there at 9:16 a.m. then came back and somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes began banging on the door again. The voice sounded the same as the male I heard last night doing the same thing around 5 p.m., who was last night demanding I open the door. And according to the FBI, there was a female that's going to prison that was out there with them yesterday. I don't know about this morning. And then at around 7 p.m., the female looking at the lengthiest prison time out of all of the females involved in this case came back to the property into Unit 207 to just instruct them to continue to proceed with their exterior stalking and attempts to terminate the live stream so they can facilitate a breaking and entering and unlawfully and illegally arrest me, commit me, or kidnap me, something of which the FBI has remained rather let's say, ambiguous about the potentiality of. They have stated explicitly that no one will be physically removing me from my home, but that everyone in Unit 207 will be physically removed before that condo is seized. So that suggests to me that there is a possibility they'll allow another breaking and entering, but it also tells me that it'll be a short-lived event. They've also stated I'll be running a YouTube live stream here in the basement when every individual in Unit 207 is detained during what they're referring to as a blitz sweep. So anyway, this individual came back, like I said, 9:16, walked away for 5 or 10 minutes, then came back and decided to make it apparent that he was outside stalking me, was a bit more polite than last night. I do think he was saying, please respond or please open the door or something. But keep in mind, they all are fully aware that it's a crime for them to even attempt to talk to me, for them to be on the property, for them to be hacked into my devices and attempting to terminate live stream. All of these things are crimes, not just against me, who some of them, like the woman that the FBI is most excited to throw behind bars, Miss 80 plus years, some of them still think that they're battling me. They've never been battling me. I'm a legally ordained minister, freelance author with a higher security clearance than the chief of police in this shit city. I have friends who are high up in the federal government. You've not been fighting me. You guys entrapped yourselves, and then you made the willful decision to become a domestic terrorist organization on August 6th. A lot of the whistleblowers involved in this case have said the same thing. They truly thought that they were in legal compliance because they had no idea that everything that gave them the authority to do things that they were doing was obtained completely through fraud and an aggravated criminal conspiracy. The FBI has stated well over, that's a quote, well over 50% of the whistleblowers have basically the same story. I told this person in a position of power that that was illegal. We could get in trouble. It was a no-no, and we didn't have immunity to do it. They said, fuck you. This is a paraphrase. Fuck you. We're doing it. You're doing it. So that being said, it is worth noting that over 50% of the individuals that hang out in Unit 207 are not terrorists, are not child abusers, are not kidnappers, are not stalkers, are not domestic terrorists, are not hostage holders, are not thieves, but rather very much victims. And according to the FBI, I shit you not, 100% at risk of retaliation. To quote the FBI, worse than what I've experienced. And if you missed it, if we include all of the various co-conspirators, which the FBI has confirmed includes every individual I reported in 2017, less one. Anyway, if we include those, I've been the victim of everything a human being could be a victim of, other than having acid thrown in my face, being a victim of arson, and or being murdered, and or being unlawfully arrested, committed, or kidnapped personally. So when the FBI says that they're at risk worse than I am, I literally am thinking it's a life or death situation. Like the FBI feels they're going to get shot in the head. Indoor, unlawfully committed. That's a big one. Everybody that knows at least one police officer knows how easy it is for a cop to commit even another cop. In fact, it's something that most precincts that end up getting an exodus per the FBI experience kind of use as a routine form of retaliation. Oh, Officer Dumbass, he's gone crazy. We got to put him in the loony bin for 3 or 5 days. Why? Because Officer Crazy was talking to the FBI and telling them about you being a fucking domestic terrorist organization. So either way, keep that in mind, because a lot of times, especially since the 11th of my mouth, I'm just like saying these things that are all factual, but rather insulting. And the insults and the facts are directed at those who have not blown the whistle. And this also includes those individuals who, according to the FBI, literally tried to provide them with a sales pitch. And the sales pitch per the FBI went something like this. Oh no, we're a legit operation. And then the FBI was like, we've been watching you for over a year in some instances before you ever step foot in Unit 207. Let that sink in, everybody. I repeat, I made an error when I said perhaps the operation was legit for a single day in March 2023. The FBI has clarified they have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. This was never a legit operation. Not ever. It began as an aggravated criminal conspiracy, and it became a domestic terrorist organization. Now, that being said, the FBI, in basically half of all of my legal filings from this month, which you can hear yourself, just look on the channel for 2/16 3 a.m. debrief. Listen to that whole recording. That'll bring you up to speed. And if you want to know a broad scale image of what happened before that, look up Mystic Gwen versus the North Everett Precinct, and that will bring you a video from December that's just under 2 hours long. So you got a total running time there of 4 hours. And it will bring you abreast to the situation and where we are now, which again is what the FBI has referred to as a, quote, cycle of subterfuge, a, quote, downward spiral towards the inevitable full accountability under the law, a, quote, stubborn commitment to a failing conspiracy. And then you have to remember that every crime perpetrated against me, the state of Washington is interpreting as crimes against them and attempts to defraud them and give them false records. That's their employer. That's who pays them. That's the attorney general, who, unlike would be normally defending them, will be prosecuting them in Snohomish County Superior Courthouse. But first, the FBI has first dibs for whatever reason. And then for the FBI, it's attempts to create fraudulent documents, tamper with evidence, prevent the FBI and I from talking, attempts to defraud the United States of America, domestic terrorism. So, like, I have explained this literally in the simplest of terms that I feel as a former K through 5th grade teacher, even a 5-year-old would understand. Mystic Gwen's door is a no-no unless you want to go to the federal penitentiary. That's the song. Mystic Gwen's door is a no-no unless you want to go to the federal penitentiary. And that's not a threat for me. That's been true past, present, and future. And then remember, the whistleblowers are totally fucked. They've been told if they follow unlawful directives, they're personally liable. But they know they can't quit because they're 100% at risk for worse than what I've got. They're just fucking stuck. Anyway, it's highly controlled, everybody. And the FBI has stated repeatedly in the past week that the women that they're most excited to throw in prison want to delay going to jail until April. But the FBI did say around March 21st, everyone that's going to prison cannot play pretend any longer. That's the FBI's plan. Just like the FBI said a couple of days ago that y'all were going to be extra psychopathic. And you have. And it's sad because we all know who's to blame. And yet those individuals know that Mystic Gwyn's door is a no, unless you want to go to a federal penitentiary. They don't like corrupt police officers, domestic terrorists, child abusers, kidnappers, child endangerers, stalkers, thieves, corrupt cops in federal penitentiary. They don't like them. And then some of you may be wondering, well, if that's all happening, why haven't you filed another police report? Because if you missed it, that's another instruction I'm under. The FBI said 1 a week. I already reported their first stalking incident of the last 3 days. Now they've had a couple more. Much more severe. But I'm going to report them next week. We'll see how many we get. And there's not really any need for me to report them other than the FBI feels there is significant evidentiary value in every legitimate police report that's rejected and then followed up by the same exact crimes, i.e. yesterday. In today. So if this video ends for any reason without me orally and explicitly tell you the end time, be advised, I didn't end it. An idiot in Unit 207 that wants to go to prison, they ended it. And now I have to title this video. And I also need to put a description in it. These are the things that I'm going to do for the remainder of this recording, at least for the beginning part. Oh, and I'm going to end my offline recording first. This commences the offline recording. It's 10:47 a.m. I'm going to delete this video because we have full video footage on YouTube of the entire time it ran. I'm actually going to hop to the preceding live stream. And I'm going to add into the description there those from like 9:16 a.m. to 10:30 or whatever. Okay, Nerd Squad, I finally got to the preceding live stream, so I'm clicking on the details to edit the details. So I'll read those out loud when I update it. Okay, here's the update. Nerd Squad, description remains the same as the prior addendum that I had already read in the preceding live stream, except for this update. 2:22:25, 9:16 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. I'm not concrete on that. It may have been like 10 a.m. Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if he's still here upstairs at this point. North Everett Precinct / Domestic Terrorists returns, knowing it's illegal and we are legally not allowed to talk, i.e. to obstruct, tamper, perp, further frauds, yada yada. Same man's voice as last night, but more polite while he talked to my silence. Less banging and said please. Then I wrote in parentheses, sarcasm. And I am going to amend that where it says, i.e. to obstruct, tamper, perp, further frauds, adding intimidate in capital letters and retaliate in capital letters against FBI informant. And then leaving the yada yada. So it reads now, it's illegal and we are legally not allowed to talk, i.e. to obstruct, tamper, perp, further frauds, intimidate / retaliate against FBI informant, yada yada. And then it goes into same man's voice as last night, but more polite. And then I'm going to cut and paste this and make it the same description in this video. So it's in the preceding live stream when it happened and in this video's description as well. Changing the title on the preceding live stream to back for third round over 3 days of stalking, obstruction, tampering, and Tim. Erasing back, just changing it to fit for characters. So I'll read it when I'm completed it, Nerd Squad. I'm trying to get everything in there that you want. Okay, Nerd Squad, making the title okay, new title is same date, same time, Unit 207 / NEP / et al. Third X as in time since 220 of stalking, obstru period, tamper / intimidate period / retaliation / FBI. Saving it. And for today's title for this video, 2:22, 10:34 a.m. Unit 207 NEP stop coming to my door to perp more terrorism. 3 times in 2 days. Prison. Millions. Millions won't fit. Prison. Dumb. There we go. Prison dumb. There you go. Saving that for this video. So this video's title, 2:22, 10:34 a.m. Unit 207 NEP. Stop coming to my door to perp more terrorism. 3 times in 2 days. Prison. Dumb. Saving it. Again, the preceding live stream, even though the developments I mentioned happened this morning, Saturday the 22nd, the preceding live stream ran and is titled 2:21, 10:39 p.m. Unit 207 / NEP / et al. Third time since 220 of stalking, obstruction, tampering, intimidation, retaliation, FBI informant. I did as best I could on the shorthand, Nerd Squad. And now I'm going to upload a thumbnail here for this video. This is the preceding live stream. Saving it. And I'm going to set this video to public. Once I'm able to, Nerd Squad. Again, waiting on the YouTube interface to properly function, or Unit 207 to hack into it, which is what they're doing right now. I'm sure I already said this, but just to be clear, in the event that this live stream ends for any reason whatsoever without me orally and explicitly stating the end time, be advised I didn't end it. Unit 207, they ended it. And I'll start a new one as soon as I notice and am able. And now I'm going to set this video for public consumption. The Nerd Squad doesn't want me to look anymore on my YouTube channel and state out loud how many videos are set up for public consumption. I'm sampling lots of new podcasts today. This one is called Mythical Monsters. Some of the podcasts I've heard before, like History for Weirdos and Ridiculous History. I loved Ridiculous History until they put ads every fucking 5 minutes. Then I was like, this podcast sucks.
Please note, the story you're about to hear is not a direct retelling of any single depiction of Sekhmet's demons. Today's episode combines elements from a number of ancient Egyptian myths and legends for dramatic effect.
Which means if you throw a shitload of ads in your podcast, don't be mad when I don't listen. If you put them in the front or the end, I know you're not an asshole.
Hello, I'm Vanessa Richardson. Welcome to Mythical Monsters,
You're putting that
a
shit in there every
Spotify
5 to 10
original from
minutes, you're just a
Podcast.
jackass.
Each week we travel the world in search of the most epic creatures from myth and legend, exploring who they are, where they come from, and what they say about the culture they terrorized. You can find all episodes of Mythical Monsters and all other Spotify originals from Parcast for free on Spotify. Today we return to ancient Egypt to check in on our old friend Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of vengeance and violence. There's one aspect of Sekhmet we haven't explored yet, her role as a goddess of healing. Ancient Egyptians prayed to her for help when recovering from injuries and illnesses, but just as she can give health, she can take it away. She has a troop of demons at her beck and call, specifically devoted to this purpose. These deadly beings are invisible, carried on the rush of the wind. They are her archers, her messengers, her murderers, the Kaiti, the plagues of ancient Egypt. Coming up, death stalks the streets of Memphis.
Hell, dude. I thought this was supposed to be about
If you've
monsters
been
I've
keeping
never
up
heard
with
of.
our ancient Egyptian season, you may remember Sekhmet, the lion-headed daughter
We're going
of
to talk
Ra.
about Memphis.
She protected her father, the pharaoh.
For those of you who
and
don't
all
know,
of
I had
Egypt
an
from threats
interesting
at home and
encounter
abroad.
with a
But
celebrity's
even in her
girlfriend
softer
in
guise as a goddess of healing
Nashville.
and medicine, she was
She
incredibly
was part of a
powerful
cult that would go
and
swimming and do
dangerous.
yoga with the Native
Because
American
while she
guy who
governed
was
health,
convinced that
she
he had been
also
abducted by
governed
aliens and the
sickness.
aliens were
And
like
she
his
had no
spirit
qualms
guides.
about using
A legit
illness as
Native
another
American.
weapon against those who offended
And he said
Ra.
that Nashville,
Her
Tennessee was one
primary
of like
weapons
5
were the
cities that the
7
aliens
arrows
wouldn't
of
destroy.
Sekhmet,
And she was
a
like trying to
euphemism
recruit
for her
me. And I
demons of
regret that I didn't
pestilence.
go, dude. I should have gone.
Sekhmet's 7
I didn't
arrows
go
were commanded
because my
by
boyfriend was
Tutu,
like, don't
a
go.
deity who was usually depicted as a
But I should have
sphinx,
gone.
a creature with the head of a man and the body of a lion. But during the last 5 days of the year, which followed the Egyptian rainy season, Sekhmet would send 12 more demons to the populace, the Kaiti. Their name is sometimes translated as murderers or messengers, and they were said to shoot diseased arrows from their mouths. Though we have illustrations of Tutu from ancient times, we have far fewer clues as to what the demons he led might have looked like. The Egyptians depicted many monsters in their art, but Sekhmet's demons are conspicuously absent from tomb and temple walls. Like their real-life medical counterparts, these threats were invisible, traveling from person to person by wind and water. The only way to fight off these monsters was prayer and ritual, but even that might not be enough. Sometimes the offense the people had committed against Ra during the previous year was too severe. The only answer at these times was to hide and pray that Sekhmet's messengers didn't come to your door.
I might go back to this one. This does not fit my mood. Let's try Famous Fates. This one read like it was a biographical historical podcast, which I'm into, especially if we have a revolving list of people. I want to choose somebody whose name I don't recognize at all. It looks like I'm going to have to choose somebody I've already heard of. All of these people I know. I like that they have it categorized. Like there's a musicians section, directors. All right, let's do the first episode. Yes, I know who John Candy is. I'm pretty sure I even watched a biography on him, but let's hear about John Candy.
Last call for flight to Los Angeles leaving Durango City, Mexico. Última llamada con destino a Los Ángeles.
I understand, sir, but it appears he hasn't checked in yet.
That's impossible. He asked me to confirm his flight last night. He called his family to tell them they'd be seeing him soon.
Sorry, sir, there's nothing I can do about it. We're closing the doors. The plane is taking off.
I need to call his hotel then.
Well, good luck. There's nothing we can do about that.
Wait, actually, there is. Do you speak Spanish?
Señor Candy? Señor Candy? Buenos dias, Señor Candy. May I come in? Do you want me to break the door open? Is that it? I'm sorry, we don't have a good connection here. Mr. Candy? Mr. Candy? Mr. Candy?
Hi, I'm Vanessa Richardson.
And I'm Carter Roy. Welcome to Famous Fates, a Parcast original exclusive to Spotify.
Each week, we'll release 5 fresh episodes centered around a common theme, such as Hollywood icons, influential women, or music legends.
In each episode, we'll take a close look at the remarkable life of a different person. With the help of voice actors, will dramatize their incredible lives, reimagining their greatest and weakest moments.
Then we'll examine their controversial deaths. Some deaths came too soon, some remained shrouded in mystery, and some changed the world forever.
Today we're covering the life and heartbreaking fate of comedian John Candy, known for blockbusters like Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Home Alone. But more importantly, he's remembered as one of the kindest men in comedy.
You can find episodes of Famous Fates and all other Parcast originals for free on Spotify. To stream Famous Fates for free on Spotify, just open the app and type Famous Fates in the search bar. Famous Fates is a Spotify exclusive, so you can only find it on Spotify.
At Parcast, we're grateful for you, our listeners. You allow us to do what we love. Let us know how we're doing. Reach out on Facebook and Instagram at Parcast and Twitter at Parcast Network.
Now, back to the life of John Candy. The story of one of the funniest and kindest men in comedy begins on a rather cold Ontario night.
It was on Halloween night in 1950 that John Franklin Candy was born. The oldest of two brothers, John grew up in a Catholic working-class family. But for this comedian, it didn't take long for tragedy to strike.
His father, sadly, passed away when John was about 5 years old from a heart attack.
From a very young age, Candy was aware of his family's hereditary condition and did his best to keep the odds out of his favor.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. By this time, he wasn't even an actor yet.
Well, that's because John's first passion wasn't comedy, it was football. Because of his size, Candy was a star offensive tackle, but a serious knee injury cut his athletic career short, paving the way for him to discover his true passion, acting.
What began as a high school activity turned out to be his true calling.
Everyone is given a gift. It takes different forms. Some are never realized, and fortunately, mine was.
From that point on, John was unstoppable. He acted all the way through college and eventually landed a part-time job as a member of a children's theater company.
So he was set from the get-go?
Not quite. Let's remind ourselves that most artists don't have it that easy. Candy's day job was way less glamorous than his future roles. The year was 1971, and he was working as a salesman for Kleenex.
You called me in, sir?
John, sit down.
Am I in trouble?
John, I have a Christmas bonus list here with me.
Okay.
Based on how much my guys made this year, I give them a percentage to go home and get a nice Christmas meal. I'm looking at that list, and I see one of my guys making enough to get himself and his